Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Action Popcast with me, Nick APD. And to the side of me, I've got a special friend. You're my friend,
Special friend.
Stu. Special
Hello.
friend. Yeah, you're my
Right.
special friend.
I'm your
You're
special
my
friend.
special. Well, I meant to say special guest, but I said special friend. So it sounded very in
Special
between.
friend
us, didn't
sounds
it?
really special. Thanks a lot. Yeah, cheers.
It's not.
Yeah, cheers.
Okay, that's us banned. It wasn't meant like that. You know,
I know.
look, you're the guy who on streams has literally like said the wrong thing or read things wrong. You know how this happens.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm
No, you
strictly
don't, you don't.
professional. I'm professional.
Anyway, so to the side of me is my friend Stu, the Universal Toy Collector. Stu, how are you, mate?
Hi, Nick. How are you? And I just want to say thank you for inviting me on. And I will let people know this is the first time I've been on since the last time, and that was a long, long time ago. So thank you. Thank you. I thought it got to a point where you didn't love me anymore.
Oh, mate, I've always loved you. Yeah. So you changed your film last minute.
Because
which is it's absolutely fine, because I'm not going to say the other film you picked, because we will do it.
Yeah.
But that would have taken when you said, can we do Jaws? I was like, well, thank you, because I've seen that a few times and it's a bit easier to get my head into it.
I'm surprised that no one else has done it, because it's the 50th year. It's the 50th anniversary this year. And I'm really surprised that it hasn't been picked already as a film to discuss. So when I said, can I do Jaws? And you said yes, I was like, marvelous.
Yeah, I didn't even hesitate, did I? I was straight in with, yep, you can do Jaws. So, Stu, you've seen the show. You know the format of the show.
Yeah.
You know that we're going to be going through some Jaws facts in a minute. I'm changing things up a little bit, guys, okay? I'm just going to be across the board and honest with you. I see you all in the chat. You're all fantastic, and I love you all, and you being here is absolutely amazing. But rather than go through the typical roll call, what I'm going to say is a massive hello to all of you. I see you and you're appreciated. And what I'm going to do is I'll obviously bring your comments up during the show, anything related to it. But to save because there is so much to go through this evening on Jaws. There's so much. And the other side to it, which is a moment of truth, is I've been editing the other episodes for the audio version. And it's quite hard to edit the start of it with all the hellos. And as much as I love you all, I've got to be honest, it's very hard to edit. So just know, I see every single one of you and I appreciate you, but I just think this is going to be the easy way. But don't worry, you'll still be included in the chat. Your comments will still come up. So let's roll with that. Does that sound all right, Stu, do you reckon?
Yeah, that'll do. That's fine.
That'll do. Yeah. You knew that I was a bit nervous saying, I was a bit like, I've got to say that before we come on.
He was working himself up. He get
a bit nervous, me. But yeah, so all of you fantastic people in the chat, obviously this evening we are discussing Jaws from 1975. Wow. I think we should get right into this. I really do think we should get right into this.
Yeah.
Stu.
Yes.
You're old enough to have, but I've seen this when this come out of the cinema. But when did you first see this?
Oh, I would have seen this probably around about the 80s, early 80s. I remember watching it, and it was quite for a kid to watch that film. It was pretty gruesome in parts, I've got to say. But I tell you what, I didn't want to go in the sea. It really did put me off going in the sea and stuff like that, and it's and then that music as well, again, that plays a big part in the film, and I'm sure we're going to cover that in a bit as well. But yeah, it's a timeless classic in my opinion, an absolute timeless classic. And I think now it's probably one of the best films that they've done or that's been released. Sure.
Yeah, I sat down and watched this last night for the first time, I have to be honest, in probably 15 years. And I said to you before we come on, I said to Carla last night, I said, I've not been bored at all through this. I've thoroughly, every minute of the film pulled me in again. And what I find remarkable about that is older films that Monkey Boy referenced it on the last show we did, Independence Day. The way films are edited are, as the years have gone by, the edits have become a lot quicker, faster, snappier, and the pacings are a lot faster. Whereas Jaws isn't the fastest pace, but it just absolutely pulls you in. And that's what would have happened to me the first time I saw this. I don't remember the exact age. I know
Yeah.
it was either on ITV or BBC, and whatever channel it was had a string of playing the Jaws films over a few nights. And I sat down and I watched Jaws, and wow, loved it then. I come back to it now, and I love it now. I guess I was possibly 10, 11 when I first watched it.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But it still stands up today.
I wouldn't call it a slow-paced film. I think it's difficult to explain, but it tells the story. It sort of builds up progressively, doesn't it? There's a lot of suspense in the film. You know,
yeah, perhaps slow. Perhaps saying it's slow paced is unfair, but do you know what I mean? It's not that modern, frantic pace.
But do you know, it doesn't need to be, because the story's there.
Doesn't.
It's telling the story. So because it's so well written and the story's there, it doesn't need to be action all the way through it to skirt over poor storytelling. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not laughing at you. I did say I would bring comments up that are relevant to the show, but I must read this by Pete the Collector. He says, I remember asking my old dear, that's his mum, how to spell smile, you son of a B, for a picture I'd drawn after seeing it the first time. I know Pete the Collector, and I know his mum, and I know that would not have gone down very well. But yeah. Well, actually, you could have got away with it, Pete, because he doesn't actually. You don't hear the bitch. You don't hear the bitch.
No,
he says it and then bang. But there you go. I suspect that. That didn't go down particularly well. Yeah. So the film, we've established it draws us in when we've watched it. But before I go into any other details of the film, a lot of people, not just a lot of people, most of the internet and film buffs list this as the first modern blockbuster pre-Star Wars. I would say that's true by the figures.
I would say yeah, because it was was released in I would say definitely. I don't think they ever planned it to be a blockbuster. I don't think that was the feeling of. I don't think they got that feeling when they were filming it, because obviously all the issues that they had, and I'm sure we're going to dive into that as well. But yeah, wow, yeah. I mean, look, listen, it's been re-released, isn't it, on the 50th year, and it's still drawing. It's still drawing in big crowds.
It was on all last week at my local cinema. Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. I just couldn't. Timings went all wrong.
Yeah,
and so I watched it in 4K on my TV, which was just as enjoyable. A couple of friends of mine did get to see it at the cinema. I know Pete the Collector did, and I know the only thing that changed was Steven Spielberg did a sort of spoken word, an intro for the film. So that I obviously haven't missed a lot in that respect. But speaking to Alan Dawson, a friend of mine who's in the chat, I said to him, I heard they've changed nothing about the film. And he said, why change perfection? Absolutely. Why change perfection?
Yeah, you don't need to. You don't need to edit it. You don't need to add anything to it. I think the way it's been filmed, the story, everything is just, like I said, it's a timeless classic. And I don't think that film will ever grow old.
Absolutely. And you've already said this year was its 50th anniversary. So June 20th. June 20th was when it had its 50th birthday by the American release date.
That's mad.
That's 50 years.
Yeah, all right.
50. I mean, 50 is really quite a lot of years. It's really quite old.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can you imagine something being 50?
I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine getting to that number. I couldn't imagine getting to 50.
The thing is, that's it, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
So why do you think Jaws still plays so powerfully today then? Before we go into all the nitty-gritty and the details.
It's the story, it's the writing, it's the acting. I mean, everything about it is just I like we've said, it's perfection. It really is. And I don't know what else to say. How can you knock it? I mean, yeah, fair enough. Okay, maybe the special effects with the shark and stuff like that, but you don't really see much of the shark until like right at the end. And I think that's what does it for me, is that suspense, because you you know what a shark looks like, but you've not seen this one. You know,
No,
the opening
and
scene where that girl goes skinny dipping and stuff like that. I mean, oh man, that is proper spooky. That is proper.
yeah, when she's being pulled side to
Yeah,
side in
yeah.
the water.
She actually broke.
And
She actually cracked her ribs doing that.
oh, bloody hell, did she? I didn't come
Yeah, yeah.
across that in all my research.
She cracked her ribs doing that.
You know, it's such a good film. We've said that. I'm now just repeating myself saying it's such a good film. It's based on the 1975 best-selling novel Jaws by Peter Benchley. And so to bring up a couple of comments by JT, he says Jaws is the greatest film ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he says it's one of the rare occasions where the movie is actually better than the book.
Wow.
So,
wow.
I've got to be honest, I haven't read the book. I had a quick flick through Wikipedia. And I watched a YouTube video listing some of the differences.
Yeah.
The book is quite different. Some of that will come up as we go through the stream.
Yeah.
I mean, some things I don't mind mentioning now. There was an affair in the book. There was mafia in the book. I can't really give you any context to it because I haven't read the book. It wouldn't be fair for me to describe it because I haven't read the book.
I'm kind of glad they didn't put those bits in, to be honest.
No, and Steven, I was going to say Steven Seagal then. That would have been weird. Steven Spielberg.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
That would have been a very different Jaws. He just like Aikido'd the shark. Steven Spielberg, you know, he had a very clear vision. He took certain parts of it out, and you know, you've already said about the shark being broken. We will go into that more in detail later on. But as you say, the shark. You know, I don't mind bringing this up now. The shark was only in the film for 4 minutes, I believe. 4 minutes, which is something like 3% of the total film's
That's all you
runtime.
needed, wasn't it? That's all you needed. You knew it was going to be. You knew there was a shark in there, and not seeing it, I think, is half. It's just as frightening of not knowing and seeing it than actually seeing it full on. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. And there's some debate online between people as to whether Jaws should be considered a horror film or not. And I'm not saying Jaws is or isn't. I don't see it as a horror film. I see it as a bit of a thriller. But a film I would compare Jaws to. Now, although Jaws necessity meant they had to film it this way with the shark playing up. But there is another older film, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I love. And the reason I love that film is because you barely see Leatherface, because it's suspense. It's more what you don't see. And that's what I felt the remake of that film ruined. So this may not be a show about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's just to say films where less really is more, and less is more. I mean, it was the only way this was getting made. But
Alien, another film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100% Alien. You barely see the xenomorph. It's and it makes it an absolute beast.
Can I just want to mention as well? I think that the chemistry between the three actors, Roy Schneider, Robert Shaw, and oh God, what's his name? Richard Dreyfuss. I thought was brilliant. And I know there was issues in between filming and stuff like that. And again, we'll touch on that. But I think the chemistry between those three, I just thought was superb. I mean, they worked really well together, despite everything that went on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, there was some tension behind the scenes from things I've seen and watched.
Yeah.
But as is the way in Hollywood, I'm just going to jump back on a previous thing I brought up about the book being based on the 1975 novel by Peter Benchley. He also wrote the screenplay with another chap, but it's further down in my notes. I will get to it in a moment. Now, this is something Monkey Boy said to me. He said, you should you should include this because reading movies will probably watch this and you're going to save them a lot of typing. Basically, Peter Benchley was known for marine and ocean-based novels. He'd had several adapted into movies. The Deep, The Island, Beast, White Shark. So he sort of found his groove and his theme. And apparently the book was inspired by real life events, particularly infamous Jersey Shore shark attacks in 1916.
Wow.
Again, some of that's disputed. Now, I just want to go on and say here, I've done a lot of research on this one. And what I've picked all the bits that I think are the most likely, because there are a lot of conflicting versions of events and facts and things on this film, because we're 50 years down the line, so a lot of it's very much become almost like Chinese whispers, you could say.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've gone for what I just think is the most plausible. So if anything I bring up tonight doesn't align with what you know yourself, know this, it's just, honestly, I could have spent hour upon hour back and forth. Like, hang on, this person says this. You know, there were people disagreeing with things that were in a film that was made by Universal called The Shark is Working. So it's like people are disagreeing with the studio's take on things. I mean, where do you stand with this?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
We know that the film is 50 years old. The release date was June 20th, 1975. Hence, we got the 50-year anniversary. Director, Steven Spielberg. I've already said that.
Yep.
I'm not going to go into a massive list of Spielberg films. I think we all know Spielberg's films at this point.
He was relatively young when he took this on. I mean, it was a big project for him to take on, and for him to do it how he wanted to do it, even though he was sort of like advised not to do it this way. It's just mental what he went through and how he's managed to pull off such a great movie. Yeah,
and apparently he wasn't the first choice of director for the movie. It was a chap called John Sturges was the first choice, guy who directed The Magnificent Seven. But apparently he annoyed the production because he kept calling the shark a whale, amongst other things. So the story goes that they got Spielberg in, and the rest is history.
So they say, yeah.
So they say. Anyway, to what I was saying, the screenplay by Peter Benchley, the chap who wrote the novel, and a guy called Carl Gottlieb. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that terribly. I'm doing my best. Production company Zanuck and Brown and Universal Pictures, and the filming locations of the movie, it was actually shot in the sea. So if anyone doesn't know, this wasn't shot in a pool or in a big tank. But the main place was Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
What a beautiful setting for this film. So looking back on the film, Stu, when you see that setting, when you will have watched this, I presume, before coming on to sort of refresh your brain.
Yeah.
What did you think looking on that sort of iconic setting?
It's very picturesque, isn't it? It's your typical sort of like, it's not like a huge place, but it's just very typical of that. It's like stereotypical, really, isn't it? When you go to these kind of places and you think, oh, it's just like just like the movies, and it was an actual location. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was all right. I think it was an ideal setting. Yeah.
I think that apart from the shark attacks, I wouldn't mind holidaying somewhere like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be a place. I wouldn't mind going to. Imagine going there and just looking around that sort of like location and stuff like that. That'd be.
Oh, there's a massive tourist trade around there anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, I think apart from the money it brought to the town, apparently it did piss off some of the locals when they were making it. People are inevitably going to get annoyed. Production companies there.
Yeah, because they were going to be there for a certain amount of time, but then they stayed there a little bit longer. Then it was a little bit longer. Then it was a little bit longer. So they kind of outstayed their welcome, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it was. Forgive me, I'm not looking through all my notes. I think it was meant to be around 55 to 60 days, the initial filming period, and it crossed the 100 and it went towards.
So I can imagine
160.
I can imagine some of them being a little peeved. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be a lot, but the richness it's brung to the town over the years.
Oh yeah,
since,
yeah.
It's where they filmed Jaws. I mean, they're never going to be short of tourist attractions. Whether that's always ideal or not, I don't know. I wonder how many people go there on July the 4th, because of course we don't celebrate that Independence Day over here.
No, that's a good point.
But
good point.
For historical reasons,
it just reminded me of with it being July the 4th, it just reminded me of it's just very American. I know that's a silly thing to say because it was in America.
I mean,
but do you know what I mean? That really did come across in the film. Do you know how silly is that? But very American in America. But
so the very American holiday celebrating American independence in an American place with an American story reminded you of America.
Very American, yeah.
I see why you got that vibe of America, mate. I have to be honest.
It's like when you watch these films and stuff like that, and you've got like New York, the skylines, and all that sort of stuff. It's. Do you know what I mean? And it's one place I always wanted to go when I was a kid was America. And this was just a different side of America that we saw, because it wasn't in your big cities and stuff like that. It was, you know, a little seaside town type of thing.
I do know what you mean. So about 15 years ago now, me and Carla went to LA, then on to Vegas. We've actually been to Universal, done the Jaws ride and everything.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I believe it's still there, or it's on part of the studio tour.
Yeah, it's on part of the studio tour in LA. Yeah.
If you ever go, you've got to do it. But I know what you mean, because obviously from England, small farming community. Well, actually, then I was living in town, but I was still a small town.
Yeah.
Seaside town of all things, but not quite like the seaside of this. Walking out of LAX, and the first thing I was greeted by was this giant American fire engine, which I've seen in the movies my whole life. And you know what I mean, don't you, Stu? And you're like, I've arrived, because you've seen it your whole life.
Yep.
And then suddenly it's there, and you can touch it. It's like when you go to Vegas and you go to old Vegas and you see the Marlboro Cowboy, and you're like, oh my God, I've seen this so many times.
Yep.
Is that the feeling you're on about there? About it's so American, and you get that feeling?
It is. I mean, because they're a very patriotic country, aren't they? And then just like falling on the 4th of July, you've got the packed beaches and stuff like that, and it's very American in America.
So very, very American in America, right? Okay, where should we go with this? Let's actually do something which I always forget to do. I've made loads of slides, and I'm hoping that I remember to use them.
Okay.
Let's bring up some artwork.
Oh, okay.
I will say now, because the Real Impact series is currently being edited for an audio format. If you were listening to this and you would like to see the slides we reference, slide on over to YouTube and have a look at the full unedited version. So there are the film posters, right? Well, there's one's a modern one that somebody's done, the one on the right hand side. Okay, I just put that there because I thought it was cool. But the traditional Jaws poster we all know is that one on the left.
Absolute classic, and it really is so iconic, that image.
Yeah, and that is I mean, it's iconic. What more can I say? I'll bring that down now. So that poster was created by a chap called Roger Castell, who's an American artist.
Yep.
The original Jaws hardback had hit my mic. Had a similar sort of picture, black with a shark, less detailed. But when they did the paperback, I believe he agreed. Sorry, no, I'm confusing myself. He did the poster, the painting for the book. Right, I confused myself here. And then when they did the film, he allowed the movie to basically use the poster for the movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's sort of become very iconic. And then there's a story about how it wasn't copyrighted properly or copy protected or however it's done, which meant that anyone could use it. And I believe the artist, years down the line, sort of kicked himself somewhat, because he realized, damn, I could have charged the studio money to use my artwork there, and I didn't.
Yeah.
But that's just one of those little things. Let me see what it says here. The art entered the US public domain due to a missing copyright notice for the image. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry, I got myself all jumbled there. But copyright in America and England's, it's a bit different. I don't even understand it in England, to be honest with you, so I don't know why I'm even saying that.
Likewise.
Yeah, so it's fair to say he received no compensation, no financial compensation, despite all the sort of extensive use of his artwork on various merchandise and what have you. So that's unfortunate for him, but I suspect he made money in other ways. And apparently the original painting's gone missing. No one can find it. It's probably on someone's wall somewhere.
Probably.
So, it's funny how art just goes sort of missing, doesn't it? It's just gone missing.
Yeah.
But right, so there's a little bit of sort of a little history on the poster. And that was anything about the poster you want to discuss? Are you happy to keep rolling?
Oh, I'm happy to keep rolling. Like I say, what more can you say about that poster? It's instantly recognizable. It's probably one of the most iconic film posters going. It really is. It's just simple. It tells you what it's about, doesn't it? It tells you what the film's about. A bloody great big shark. And yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to bring this up by JT. He says, I know an interesting fact about the Jaws poster. The shark on the poster is a mako shark, not a great white. The artist liked the look better. I never knew that.
Wow.
That is a very cool fact.
Get that poster up again. I want to have a look.
All right. Okay.
Not that I know what I'm looking for.
Don't shout at me. I'll do it as quick as I can, Stu. There you go.
See, I would never have known. Never would have known.
I had to be honest with you, I see a shark and I say shark, unless it's a hammerhead shark, which I can sort of very clearly go, oh, that's a hammerhead shark.
Yeah.
I was like, shark.
Yeah.
I mean, Pete the Collector, who's in the comments, he's a massive shark fan. So you know, he's very much, he could probably tell you them all. His, in fact, fantastic story about Pete. He's such a shark fan that he had a very tiny little shark tattooed on his arm when we were teenagers, and he hid it for years from his mum. He wore long sleeve shirts for years to hide it from her. He's now had it integrated in with a tribal piece on his arm because he didn't want to get rid of it. But, you know, Pete the Collector, you know Pete, my mate Pete, you've met him, Stu. So
Pete. Yes, I know Pete.
Yes, you know Pete.
I know Pete. Hello,
just
Pete.
To alienate people. Just to bring up what Excelsior's domain says here. Good evening, Excelsior. I think JT's right. I've heard that before. The nose is too pointy for a great white, I suspect.
Wow. Okay. Again.
And MSC was saying he could have picked a more friendly looking shark. That one looks pretty scary.
Well, I think that's the point, Emma. Yeah, I think that's the point. You know, I think he's I think that's what he's looking for. That's what he's aiming for.
You know, I think he was going for that. Right. Should we talk a little bit about the cast?
Yes, please. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. So there are the lead actors, but the first actor I want to bring up is Susan, and I can't pronounce her surname for toffee. Backlini. Susan Backlini. Do you know who that is, Stu?
I'm guessing was she Mrs. Kipner?
Wait for it. Chrissy Watkins, the first victim.
Oh God! Oh, of course, yeah.
And I had to go very careful with this shot because I know that she wasn't wearing anything in this shot on the top, and I had to make sure there was nothing showing for YouTube because you know what YouTube's like. I'll scan that, shut your channel down. But yeah, she was the first victim.
She's recently passed away.
She has recently passed away. Yes. Into her story, do you know how it's said she got the role for this film?
Nope.
No, it's all right. It's not a quiz. It's just I was surprised by it, but I wasn't surprised by it. I wasn't surprised, but it's not how I thought she'd go. So she's a stunt woman, apparently, in Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Was, rather, right?
Right,
but
yeah.
Apparently, she'd previously done nude shoots for magazines like Penthouse and whatnot.
Right.
And the story goes, she sent the pictures to the production of Jaws because they wanted a young female lady swimming in the sea, and that sold them, and they got her in on the shoot. So apparently that I've read that in several sources online, and I've read several people disputing it.
Stunt woman. That makes sense, her being a stunt woman, or used to being a stunt woman, because she had that harness on when they were dragging around, so she had to wear that harness. And like I said, when they were dragging her around, she actually did crack a rib or broke a rib, and so some of that scream was pretty much real when she was being dragged around. So
just put that comment on screen, Vic, saying the boy's totally missing the sarcasm, Emma.
Was that sarcastic? No, Emma's not sarcastic, is she? Is Emma sarcastic? No,
Emma. No, never. So
wow.
She'd done a few. I've put a couple of things she's done. She did a film called The Grizzly and the Treasure in '75, the same year as Jaws. She was also in The Great Muppet Caper in 1981. I specifically put that in there for your good lady wife because I know she's a big fan.
Well, guess what we're going to be watching? We're going to be watching that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, you got a spot. I don't know if she's credited in it. I didn't dive too deep into it. And she had a few TV roles, and I think she appeared on lots of documentaries and she was the girl who got killed at the start of Jaws. She was going to make money for the rest of her life. Let's face it, that was a job for life. So I know she's not the main role, but I feel that she's that's the iconic. That's the iconic kill in the film. That's the first one that pulls you in. So I just wanted to put her first.
But I mean, what an opening to a film, though. What an opening to a film.
100%.
Do you know,
100%.
it's wow. That's and you know, normally these things, you know, the first death is probably 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes into the film. This was pretty much straight away. You know, so that's sort of like keeping the audience on their seats for, oh crikey, who's going to be next? You know, how long is it going to be before the next one? So yeah.
Yeah, there's I couldn't find any details. There's what before we go, and we're going to go into the main three in a moment and a couple of supporting cast. There's one character in this film I feel got a raw deal. They didn't get the music, the dun 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 dun. They didn't get that, and they died. And they're an official kill in Jaws, as far as I'm concerned. The dog on the beach before the young child gets eaten on the thing.
Oh yeah.
No one ever talks about the dog. So
no one talks about the dog.
So
no one talks about the dog.
Didn't even get the Jaws music.
No. Well, he was there, and then he wasn't. You just saw the stick floating on the water, didn't you?
Yeah.
And his name was. Was it Pipette or something like that?
Possibly. I probably should have wrote it down, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, it's very, very much implied that the dog doesn't make it. So
yeah. But the thing is, though, I guess it's different.
Oh, hang on. Breaking news. Alan Dawson says Pipette the dog, he says the fog, I presume he means dog, survived. I always thought the dog died.
So did I. How does he know the dog survived?
I don't know. Well, pop it in the comments, Alan, how you know the dog survived, and I'll happily bring it up. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. I've spoke wrong, possibly. Pipette the dog. Perhaps that's why Pipette didn't get the music. But for all these years, I always thought the dog was eaten.
Well, so did I. I thought he'd gone.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those great mysteries. It's like one of those things in movies where people go all those years. Oh, one moment. He says, you see him later when they're all running to the pond. Oh, okay.
How do you know it's the same dog?
I was going to say the same, but I'll go with it. No, I just want to live happy knowing that Pipette survived, mate. I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. Let's not. However, I'm questioning myself here. I'm really questioning my. Oh, one moment.
Now look what you've done, Alan. Now look what you've done.
Alan says it was debated at length in one of the Jaws groups I'm in. Well, yeah, I think it's really up there for debate. And Kieran Bull says Pipette died in the film. Fact. Well, now we've got right, guys. You're gonna have to debate this one in the chat because I can't. There's not going to be a definitive answer. But yeah, there we go. See, this is what I was saying earlier about no matter what you research and what you look at on this film, for every fact you find, there's someone saying, nope, it's not that, it's not that. So you're sort of in a bit of a minefield as to.
I feel like I'm on a quiz again. It's all coming back. It's all coming back to me, flashbacks. But it's all good.
Yeah, except for there'll be no revenge for this one. So there we go. Anyway, let's get into the main cast. Roy Schneider. Please. Or Schrader.
Yeah.
Scheider? Roy Scheider. Scheider. How do you pronounce it?
Schneider.
Right. Thank you. Right. Anyone new to the show, this isn't a new thing. I can't pronounce names at all. I'm dyslexic for one, which means my notes are all in weird written, and two, I'm just crap at pronouncing stuff.
I mean, I'll second that. You can't even say rant. He says rant. So you know. So there you are.
There we go. But that's a story for another day. So Roy Schneider.
Schneider.
I can't see a N in it. Anyway, as Chief Martin Brody, American actor, died in 2008, age 75, no longer with us, bless him.
Yeah.
It's in various films, Clute in 71, The French Connection 71, Jaws 2, Jaws the Revenge, which I believe is the fourth one, The Punisher in 2004. Did lots of films. We don't need to
Jaws
have a
the Revenge?
Yeah.
He's in Jaws the Revenge. Are you sure?
I could be wrong. I'll have a look. Let's have a look, shall we? I'm sure he's not in the third film, but he's in the fourth.
No, I don't think he was in the. He didn't even want to do the sequel.
No, okay. Well, I've probably got it wrong then, mate. To be honest with you, to be honest with you, there you go. That's relying on the internet, and this is what I say. You're at the mercy of the internet, because I wouldn't have just pulled that out of. I wouldn't have just pulled that out of my bottom. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think, because I think his character in the movies had died of a heart attack.
Okay, yeah, because
his name was mentioned.
Isn't his wife a widow in one of the later films, and she moves away?
One, yeah.
Okay, so all right, he's not in Jaws: The Revenge. Scratch that. It's all right. It's fine to make mistakes. But yeah, he's done various films. I think he's a great character of the main three. I'm going to say he's probably not my favorite of the main three. He's awesome, and we'll get into it. But how do you feel was him in the role? You love?
I thought he was perfect for the role. I thought he was really good. He was the police chief, wasn't he? But I think he got pushed around a little bit, because he said to close the beach and stuff like that, and then they didn't want to close the beach because they wanted it because it was the 4th of July, so they want to bring the tourists in the money and stuff like that. So and between what did he say there? What was that?
Schneider, no N. Oh yeah, Kieran Ball coming in with Michael Caine was in Revenge. Yeah, he was. He absolutely was in Revenge. Yeah.
But there he was the more. I think he was the more level-headed of the three of them in there, wasn't he? He was the more level-headed.
He was, and I think he was quite an interesting character, because he's obviously moved to Amity because he's been in the. Where's he from? New York, isn't he? He's from New York. Yeah, he's a busier life, more dangerous, better life for the wife and kids and everything.
Yeah.
He's afraid of the water, which is the one which sort of puzzles me a little bit. But I guess that's just what it is. And Alan just saying that Ellen Brody was in Revenge. Yeah,
she was. Yeah.
As a widow. Yeah. See, I remembered something. Right, there we go. Interesting that he's got the fear of water. Very obviously has to get over that. And I think it's interesting. I see like the character. Obviously, we don't know much about his backstory in the film, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know what the backstory is of the book. But he seems quite easily pushed around at the start. Yeah, like we say, and that's a far cry from the guy at the end who's, blowing up a shark's head with an oxygen tank. It's, But I think he was. I
still even think he was, because like you said, he didn't like the water. He didn't know his way around a boat. He wasn't confident, was he? You could tell. Was it? He certainly does appear.
So I think this is probably why I read, because I probably read this on IMDb or somewhere. As I read somewhere, he was in the film. Martin says he technically does appear in Jaws: The Revenge when they show the scene of his young son imitating him. That is almost certainly why he was listed as being in Jaws 4 on one of the things I looked at. So there you go.
Okay.
This is a reason for it. Thanks for that, Martin. I would have loved to have watched all the films before doing this, but there's only so much time in the day.
No. Well, we'll get to the other films in a bit, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, we got a whole section to be mean about them.
But like I said, he wasn't confident on the boat, and you could tell he didn't know what he was doing. He was pretty much out of his depth, so to speak. So again, he was still pushed around by, I think, Hooper and Quint as well, because I think those two are quite strong, prominent, confident characters. And he's like, oh, what the hell, Martin? Come on now.
Unmute yourself, Nick. Yes, Martin saying anytime I can prove Stu wrong. Well, there you go. And Kieran saying that Gerard, interestingly, the book is very different. Yeah, we briefly touched on that earlier, but there'll be a few bits that come up later on that. So yeah, where were we, Stu, before we were being proved wrong? And
about getting pushed around, Chief Brody.
Yeah, getting pushed around. Do you think the character by the end of the films becomes more assertive?
I think out of necessity. I think out of necessity. It's because it's a life and death situation that he's in, isn't it? So that at the end the boat's sinking. So yeah, I think it's out of necessity more than anything else, out of choice. To be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, like I say, he's a great character. Not my favorite character, but he's a great character. Now, my favourite character in the film, Robert Shaw as Quint.
Oh,
I love Quint in this movie.
I just like Robert Shaw.
Oh, yeah. And it's so tragic. I mean, he died at age 51 of a heart attack. That was in 1978 he died.
He was on his way home because he lived in Ireland. They'd moved to Ireland, and he was on his way home, and he'd been complaining that weren't feeling very well. And then as I was driving along at one of the roads and stuff like that, he said, "Oh, I don't feel too good. I need to get some air." So he got out the car, took a few paces from the car, and just dropped down dead. Such a shame.
It is. And he had quite a tragic life in as much as he was married twice, but I believe he found his second wife. He found her dead. She'd had alcohol problems and whatnot. And she was only 47 when she passed. Was very into procreation, had 10 kids.
Yes, he did. He was a very busy boy.
So sorry, my notes here. He found his second wife, Mary dead at age 41 in 1975 from an accidental overdose. So, he'd seen...
Wow, he'd seen that.
So
and
younger younger than I thought she was from memory. But yeah, I mean, he'd done various work in Shakespeare plays. He was in the Dam Busters in 54, Hole in Career in 56, From Russia with Love, which I have to put in there because I absolutely love that Bond film, Young Winston, which is a Churchill film, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, Force 10 from Navarone.
Great film. That I love that film.
I saw it when I was a kid with my granddad. It's been a very, very long time. I must watch it again because I remember enjoying it.
Good film.
Yeah.
Battle of the Bulge. He was in that as well.
Fantastic. I've only got down the ones I've read out listed because, as I say, otherwise it turns into a bit of just reading a list of movies. Why did I say it like that? Like Austin Powers movie. Anyway, I love the character of Quint. I think one of the most fascinating parts of him, and this would go into a scene I love in the film, is the fact that they've written that he was on the USS Indianapolis. And that story he tells in the galley, explaining about the shark attacks, the men, and I can't do the justice that he did that. I can't. I'm not an actor. But when you hear that and you suddenly form the full picture of why he's so intent on getting this shark and the venom and hatred he has for the sharks. And
well, it would interest you to know that scene had changed. That scene was rewritten because he was going through doing the lines and the script and stuff like that, and he was like, I can't do this. It's too long. It's just too broken up. So he said to Steven Spielberg, I will sort something out. I'll get something sorted out. And so he wrote that. He condensed it all. So instead of 7-8 pages worth of dialogue, he broke it down to about 2 or 3 pages of dialogue. So Robert Shaw actually wrote that dialogue for that particular scene. And I just thought it was, like you say, so well written and so well placed within that film. Because of the shark attacks and stuff like that.
You have done acting. You've been in acting. You and your good lady have both acted. You're both you know the craft of acting. So I'll ask you it from this direction. As somebody who is an actor or been an actor, I don't think you ever don't be an actor once you've been one. That performance, where does that rate for you in delivery?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It makes your hair stand up on your arms and the back of your neck. I would say my head because I ain't got any, but it does make your hair stand up on the back of your neck, and it gives you goosebumps listening to that speech. His delivery was pinpoint perfect. The expressions on his face, the tone of his voice, the way he changes his voice when he gets to certain parts of the dialogue, just incredible. That for me, that was the scene stealer of the film. That really was just incredible bit of writing, storytelling, and he made you want to listen to what he was saying. That's how good a performance and delivery of those lines that was, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I just want to say hello to all the new arrivals. Thank you for joining us this evening. I will get to as many comments as I can throughout the show. Alan Dawson says he was passes most of the time. So I think he means pissed.
He was. Yeah. Well, he was an alcoholic, wasn't he? So
yeah. So, but Robert Shaw as Quint, I absolutely, that I don't find there was no boring moment in Jaws
when he
for
was
me.
on.
But
No.
I was chatting to Pete the Collector on the way home this evening, because we normally have a chat on the way home, sort of thing. Well, I'd already got home, but he was still driving, so I thought, well, I'll take his call. I'm not going to be rude. Anyway, we normally have a chat, and we were chatting about this, and Pete was saying how much he loves the galley scene, how it's his absolute favorite in the film. He rates that as the best part of all of the Jaws movie, and I get it completely.
Well, it's also interesting to say that with Robert Shaw, he was kind of sort of like a method actor. So to get into the part of being a C-worthy kind of person and to get the performance that he wanted, he actually went and spent time with people that did like fishing trawlers and boats and stuff like that, and hung around with them and interacted with them to get the the lingo and the way they spoke and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, he did his homework. He did a fantastic job.
Because weren't some of the locals telling him absolutely ridiculous made up stories and things like that?
Probably,
Just,
yeah.
Which it all works. It all works. So yeah, Robert Shaw, and the mighty Richard Dreyfuss as Matt Hopper.
Yeah.
Hooper. Bloody rubbish I am. That's what happens when it's Thursday night and you're absolutely knackered, isn't it? So he's still alive at age 77, thankfully.
Yeah,
so,
Richard Dreyfuss, yeah, bless him.
Me and Kat normally do, when we do a Real Impact, we normally do a Star Wars connection section. Well, there's so many in this film. I mean, but
yeah,
he was in American Graffiti in 1973. Do you know who directed that, Stu? I believe they're right as well.
Yeah,
there you go. So there's your Star Wars connection, along with bloody the music
John
coming
Williams,
up and everything. So there's so many. Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 77, Stand By Me in 86, Stakeout 87, Mr. Holland's Opus, Poseidon, Piranha 3D. I'm noticing a couple of watery themed things coming in there. Piranha 3D, I will say, I watched the trailer for that. And it is it's by New Line Cinema, but it's a really bad Jaws ripoff. It's sort of low budget, but not low budget. And
I think I'd give that a miss. Yeah.
the minute and a half, the 90-second trailer was enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, we're going to gush over. We've gushed over the first two. Fantastic in this role. Absolutely brilliant. I loved him. I loved the scene. I love between Hooper and Quint is when they're comparing the war wounds.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought to myself, oh, that reminds me of the scene in Lethal Weapon 3 between Riggs and Lorna. And so I Googled that quickly. And apparently that scene was absolutely inspired by that and a nod to that.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah. But again, that scene was just incredible because his laugh is infectious anyway. And then you got Quint laughing as well. And I like I say, the chemistry between the three of them, I thought was absolutely superb, and it was just compelling. It was a great watch.
It works. It just works, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Apparently Richard Dreyfuss and Nick, remember your brain. Robert Shaw, thank you. Brain's going nuts tonight, Stu, sorry. Apparently they had a real rift backstage. They were the best of friends.
Yeah. So Robert Shaw is your elder statesman. He's your wise and
one of the old guard,
stuff like that. One of the old guard. Richard Dreyfuss, up and coming. He just wants to have his name out there. He wants to be famous. He wants to be in a big hit and stuff like that. He was worried about himself. He had low self-esteem. He was always worried about his performance. Because I think someone had made a comment on a previous film that he was in that he talked very nasally and stuff like that. So all those kind of things. So and I think it was classed as bullying. It would be classed as bullying these days. But I just think there was difference of opinions. There was different styles, and I think it's like an older dog when you got a puppy and the puppy just wants to play and just overexcited and eager and stuff like that. And he's just like, oh, just, leave me alone. And he starts snapping and growling and stuff like that. So that's
isn't that just part of nature all round, be it work, be it
Yeah, of course
life,
it is. Yeah,
whatever. There's always a point when, and you'll be feeling this now in your more senior years, that obviously us youngsters are coming along and we sort of want to,
what the hell?
take charge.
What the hell? I'm not biting. I'm not biting.
Oh, you will at some point. You will at some point.
But yeah, but I mean, like, but back to Richard Dreyfuss again. I thought his performance as the is it an oceanologist, oceanologist, or something like that.
Just for Gerard O'Connor, and hello, Gerard. Most likely mentioned it earlier, Nicolas. What's the runtime of the film? Oh, it's just over 2 hours, isn't it? 2 hours and 4 minutes, I think. Just over 2 hours.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to guess.
It's just over 2 hours.
Just
I know
over
it is.
2 hours.
I watched it last night. I probably have got it written down here, but I've gone past it. No, Gerard, I'm terrible. I didn't mention it earlier. I didn't do my usual thing of saying the runtime. What's wrong with me this evening, Gerard? But no, I mean, I watched it last night. It's just over 2 hours, mate. Literally just over. Sorry, I can't give you any more. I'll tell you what, Alan Dawson. I messaged Alan the other day and I said to him, I was asking him a question about someone. I said, I know I could Google this, but I don't need Google because I've got an Alan. And here we go. Kieran Ball's beat it. 2 hours and 4 minutes. I was right. Just over 2 hours. I knew it was literally just a fraction past 2 hours. You are absolutely right. I do normally give you the runtime of the film, but I'm just in awe of having Stu on.
Don't be silly.
And Keith Knight, hello, good evening to Keith Knight. He says there's an excellent film called Mission of the Shark that tells the story of USS Indianapolis, truly horrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, cheers for that, Keith. Thanks for that information there, buddy. I will check that out because I was sat watching it last night and Carla turned around to me and goes, oh, that's a true story. I was like, I know it's a true story. You know when you don't want to be like me and go, I know it's a true story. But it's obviously a very widely, it's not something... It's not in the wheelhouse of what I thought Carla would have been not into, but then she told me it was on a podcast she listens to. So Carla, my wife is such an intelligent lady, but anything sort of wartime and that isn't really her bag. I mean, we live with a kid who's absolutely nuts on war history and that. So
how clever was that to integrate that whole sort of like storyline into the Jaws story?
Fantastic, yeah, because it brings the real world into fiction.
Yeah.
It's the absolute perfect story as to why Quinn is as obsessed as he is.
Yeah.
But it also brings elements of the real world in.
Yeah.
And that I like it when, because Amity's a fictional place filmed in a real place. That happens in films, but I like it when films reach into real history and real stories and make that part of the story because it does give you that more real.
Well, I mean, look, listen, Jaws is about a shark, so I mean, it could happen. It's happened in the past, so it's not like it's Martians and stuff like that from outer space. It's real world things that have happened and still are happening and will happen in the future when it comes to shark attacks and stuff like that. So, you know, it's all very sort of like very familiar. And I think that's another thing that is really sort of like quite chilling about the film is that it happens in real life. It is based on real life events. Shark attacks do happen, you know, so it's really close to home with that kind of thing.
Do you want to read this one out, Stu? You run your own channel.
Nicolas Cage also made a film about the US Indianapolis in 2016. Yes, he did. We watched that film. I've seen that film.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that one out. Cheers for the info there, Kieran, and thanks for joining us this evening. Right, just to jump down then, a couple of this note in supporting cast. Lorraine Gary is Ellen Brody.
Yeah.
She was in the other Jaws films, had sort of good TV career with shows like she was on shows like Kojak and Ironside. I'm aware of those shows, but they're more memes to me. Too young. I know you all know them, Stu. Murray Hamilton as Mayor Vaughan, was in The Graduate in 1967, Jaws 2, lots of TV work. And Cole Gottlieb, he was one of the writers of this film, wrote you know, we've already gone
Oh,
over
he
that
was
earlier.
in it, was he?
Yeah, he played the best known for co-writing screenplay, Jaws, 2 sequels, as well as directing. I believe. He's Meadows. There you go. I'm looking. I've got it in brackets right next to it as a character called Meadows. So there you go.
I don't know who Meadows was. Did you know Peter Benchley was actually in it as well?
Yeah, wasn't he the news reporter on the
Yes.
beach?
When he's saying about the cloud in the shape of a great white shark. We didn't
Yeah.
say it like that because that's very British. He said it in an American
So
accent.
I'm going to totally be honest with that. I think what I was just about to do was I think I had just I was about to confuse that with him being him, and then I looked. I was like, no, my notes aren't there.
Yeah.
But no. So yeah, you are right. Had a budget. Let's get into a few of the things. Had a budget of 9 million. The box office take was 489 million. The original budget was only meant to be something like around 3.5 million, but things escalated.
Wow.
Domestically, it took. Oh God, Nick, you can't read numbers at the best of the time. 57% of that was its domestic take, and the other 43% was the international take. I'm not going to try and read out those numbers.
Do you think the film studios were happy after all that?
I think they were very happy. In fact, I think after all the stress and aggro and the budget blowing up beyond, I think they were probably quite, really quite happy with that. I think that was... and nothing beat the take of this film until, do you know what film it took to come along to beat the taking of this film?
Oh, I'm going to say Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. So,
and isn't it funny that both films were plagued with problems, big problems, and that they run over budget. They wanted to shut the Star Wars film down, and yet the two directors persisted, carried on with it, saw out their vision, and made the studios an absolute fortune.
Well, yes. I mean, there you go. You got to trust these guys. And in Hollywood today, we see it today, don't we? We don't need to go hugely into this, but how many times do we hear, especially with like in the Star Wars universe, they've got so and so director, and they're 2 months in and they fired them because they're not happy with their vision. It's like, you've got to let people run with it, man. You've got to see what they're going to bring you.
Yeah.
It does seem directors. I mean, I appreciate there's money on the line, but when you look at these studios, I mean, they make lots of money. Not everything's going to be a hit, but when you do get a hit, it's going to more than pay for itself.
Listen, don't forget, you've got to ask the question: would Jaws, if it was released today, make the money it did back then? Because you've got to take into consideration the factors of streaming services. So would it make the money it made then today?
If we take into account that films come out so quick now, I mean, there's literal films at the cinema. Back in the day, I remember if you didn't see a film at the cinema, you were waiting so long before you got to see it on VHS.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas now, honestly, mate, films come out of the cinema, and on my Skybox, you can pre-order it almost for a few weeks' time. It does not take long. I mean, there's that practical side to it. Would it take that sort of money? Possibly, because there's still films that are runaway successes, but probably not. But I think the one aspect of why it wouldn't is because it wouldn't be filmed in this way today. It would be shark heavy. The shark would be everywhere. It'd be CGI. It would be a throwaway popcorn flick. It wouldn't be as iconic. I just don't think it would be. I've got... Later on, when we get into the sequels, I've got some questions for you about how we feel about films and that. Yeah, I'll keep that one under me cap. But my question to you now is, Stu, because I do have questions. I do try and have some sort of structure to these shows. I really do.
Yeah, well, you're doing all right. You're doing all right.
Thank you. Cheers.
You're welcome.
So this film did have a heavy marketing campaign. But what do you think it was that made audiences line up round the block, creating the blockbuster? What do you think it was about this film? Because on the outside, the poster's cool and that, but it's about a shark, yeah? I mean, we know this film's amazing, but back then, I'm looking at it back then. What do you think it was? Do you think it... I think it was I'm answering for you now, but I think it was the intro. But what do you think made it the blockbuster? What do you think it was that pulled audiences in? There's no right or wrong answers.
I feel it was the real life element, and it was like a thriller, wasn't it? Like you say, it was a. I don't know. It's a tough question. I would say it literally is the real life element, the thriller of it. The shark. Look at this giant shark. It's going around attacking people on a beach and stuff like that. And it's well, not on the beach, but in the sea. And stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was because of the shark and the thriller aspect of it.
Absolutely. Now I'm switching sections around it because I want to go quickly touch on the music and the score of the film before we get into the broken shark, which is so important to the history of this film.
Yeah.
So if we hit the music and score, who was the composer of this film, Stu?
Oh God. Keith Knight or no?
John Williams.
Is it John Williams? Yeah, John Williams. Yeah. Yeah.
So
John
we're
Williams.
alienating anyone who hasn't seen before, but yeah, it's that's a joke from one of Stu's quizzes. But yeah, absolutely. John Williams, the score for Jaws. Now, I went to write down a few of his films that he's worked on, and it was almost 2 pages of A4. So few of the hits: the Star Wars saga, Close Encounters, Superman, Indiana Jones, E.T., Home Alone, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, Harry Potter, the first 3 films. I'm stopping there because we could go on for hours.
Mental.
We could literally go on for hours. This guy is as iconic as they come. Everyone here knows who he is, but if for some reason there's someone who doesn't, I promise you've heard his music.
I'll tell you what, he's not done bad considering he started off in jazz.
Nothing wrong with jazz, mate.
Didn't say there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying it's a far throw from what he did.
Movie
scores and stuff like that. And just a little story on John Williams. He took over the Boston Pops, the orchestra, and stuff like that. And he wanted to start doing like film scores and stuff like that with the Boston Pops. And they were all very old fogey and fuddy-duddy, and they didn't like it. They didn't like change. So after a while, he left. And then a few years later, he went back again. And so apparently it's an honor to be part of the Boston Pops.
I suspect they were there with open arms when he came back.
Yeah. But how iconic is that first opening music when you're under the water and you just...
It's absolutely incredible. So the notes, I wrote it down. I knew it as E and F or F and F sharp. We both do musician stuff. Dun dun.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a great. I mean, do you know how many times at band practice and at gigs when the guitarist is tuning up, I've played dun 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 or the other one is normally da 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 Batman because it just gets a giggle out of people. But how simple is it and effective? And Spielberg didn't like it initially.
Yeah, because he said, "What is that?"
So I think he played it to him on piano. What is that? What are you doing? This is not what I'm visioning. I think it was played on tuba in the end, and it's iconic. I tell you what, and this is worth checking out. I found on all my research for this and so the film Psycho, right? That I go the tune from Psycho. The theme from that and the theme from Jaws literally marry together perfectly. It's absolutely incredible. It's worth checking out. I just wanted to share that because that is so cool. And I would have played it, but Stu, you know what happens when we play music on YouTube?
What happens, Nick? Please tell me.
Don't do that. You're naughty. We're not going to show your video in this country and that country.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Shucks. But it's hard enough getting streams pushed out there because I'm primarily a live channel, so I don't want to like annoy the algorithm anymore.
But I'm sure most people would recognise the Jaws theme. They really would. But it's not just the main theme, though. I think there's a lot of other decent bits of music within the film. You know, the chase where they're chasing the shark, when it's got the barrels on it and stuff like that. It's very seagoing kind of music, and do you know what I mean? It's quite exciting because it's an exciting part of the film where they've got the barrels on there, they're chasing it, and then and every time you know the shark's coming. It's got its own theme, isn't it? So he just that very slow dun, dun, and that builds suspense in
Build
itself.
up.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
build up. Yeah. I know we're jumping back on what we said before, that really awkward question I asked you, and I knew it was a hard question. And I kind of started asking it and I thought, you're horrible, Nick, but I don't care. Palp, to what you said, he said the book was popular. We didn't get movies released every week. Going to the cinema was an event. Maybe that's
Well, yeah.
take,
Again, yeah, absolutely.
And good evening, Palps, if I haven't already said hello to you, sir.
Well, somehow he's managed to return. And be here. So well done, Palps.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Is that Mr. B?
suspenseful.
Have you said hello to
is.
Mr. B?
I've waved at Mr. B, but yeah, hello, Mr. B. And
Thank you for joining us, Mr. B.
And another, you were there when that all started at Christmas, weren't you, Stu? It still happens
going
from time to time. Yeah, the music is suspenseful. It gets the hairs on the back of your neck.
It does.
It's just
yeah.
I love it.
It's a very powerful piece of music, and I don't think music does get talked about enough when it comes to movies, especially big blockbuster movies like this.
Yeah. So actually checking my notes, honestly, I've got about 25 pages of notes here that I made and I wrote and everything. And you do it because I was messaging you on Sunday. I'd literally sat and was doing this all day Sunday.
Yeah.
Because but I said I believe it was on the tuba. The reason I say it's because I put it in my notes. The piece was performed by tuba player Tommy Johnson. Johnson was questioned why it was written in such a high register instead of the French horn. Williams replied he wanted it to sound more threatening. Well, there you go. You achieved it.
Yeah, without a doubt. I
mean, back to what we said about Spielberg not liking it. He thought it was a joke at first. He thought that Williams was taking the piss out of him, but no. And apparently, some of the things that Williams drew influence from were things like pirate movies.
Yeah,
you know, and that.
Well, that's certainly come across in that music when they're chasing the shark, and then other aspects of the film. So that
when they're on the orca, absolutely.
Oh, what I mean, crikey, we've not talked about the orca.
We're gonna get to the orca. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Right, let's go up because we got so much. You haven't got 4 hours. I haven't got 4 hours, and no one wants to be up 4 hours. Let's talk a little bit about the broken shark, which frankly changed everything about the movie. It changed everything about the movie. Excuse me, I've got to mute myself for 1 second. I always make it look like I'm coughing. I'm not. I'm expelling air from the beer I'm drinking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we still heard it. It's all good.
Oh, it's all right. That's fine. I was muted, but you know, you can't fool me. Can't kid a kidder, mate. So I know you know a lot about this, and I'm going to come to it because but the shark, the puppet of the shark, known as Bruce, which I believe is a reference to Spielberg's lawyer. He named it after his lawyer. The puppet was all made with airlines and stuff, and sort of hydraulic. However it were, I don't understand engineering. I'm a plasterer by trade. I make stuff smooth.
It was a giant puppet, so to speak.
Yeah. All right, Brian Connolly. That's going to alienate all the Americans out there. It's a puppet. But they were testing it in lakes and rivers with no salt.
Yeah.
And then they put it in the sea, and the sea was eating the skin off of it, the like latex skin off of it.
Yeah.
It was clogging up the gears, the inner workings of it. Apparently the first time they put it in the sea, it just sunk. It just hit the deck. It just went down. And I said earlier, anyone who's coming a bit later, the shark was in the film for approximately 4 minutes, which is 3% of the movie's runtime. The shark was meant to be in the film a hell of a lot more. The shark malfunctions. Spielberg is happy that they happened. He loves the less is more approach. We all love that. That made this film. As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But what I want to do now is I want to ask you about the play The Shark is Broken.
Yeah.
Which is about this, because you've been to see that. And when you told me at the NEC we met up, I was very jealous. I would have loved to have seen this. So Stu, here is your time to discuss The Shark is Broken.
So The Shark is Broken is based on true life events of the, of the filming of the movie the movie Jaws, and they're on the Orca. So the set is actually half of the Orca, which is pretty cool. And it's Richard Dreyfuss, what's his name? Robert Shaw and Roy Schneider, or however you pronounce his name. Scheider. And it's in between takes. So they're on the boat and they're there for like a good few hours, days and stuff like that. Because every time they go off to film, the shark halfway through a scene will break and stuff like that. So it's basically them three on the boat and they're having a discussion. So you learn of the background animosity between Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss. Now, Robert Shaw was played by his son Ian Shaw, and it's just an absolute spitting image of his dad.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's his son. It was his son. Yeah. Now his son was I can't remember how old he said he was, but he was on the set of Jaws when they were filming it and stuff like that. So he got to see a lot of what was going on. It's just an incredible. I mean, it's based on real life events. How true the conversations between the three of them is open to debate. I'm sure there's a lot of artistic license going on there, but from what it come across as was that Roy, what's his surname again?
Scheider.
Roy Scheider. He was the middleman between the two, between Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw. And as we know, Robert Shaw was an alcoholic. He had bottles of booze hidden all around the set and stuff like that. And that's when we find out that he wrote that part of the script for the Indianapolis. It was about 7-8 pages long. He started reading it and he pretty much had a breakdown and said, he can't do this. I cannot do this. It needs to be changed. And let me work on it and let me sort something out and I'll get back to it. So that's what happened. So then he did it again. But this time he was as pissed as a fart. And then he just went into a meltdown. He had a breakdown and stuff like that. And they had to cut and then they, had to come back and do it again. But it was just really interesting to hear of all, you hear of Richard Dreyfuss's insecurities and stuff like that. He didn't rate himself as an actor. He wanted to make a name for himself. He wanted to be in a big blockbuster movie. He kept on asking the question, is this going to be a blockbuster? Am I going to make a name for myself, sort of thing? And the other two weren't too fussed about it. It was a case of Richard Dreyfuss asking the question, what does this film mean? What is this film about? I see it as, and he went really deep into the, of how what the film meant to him and what he thought of the film. And then when it come around to Robert Shaw, they said, what's the film about too? And he goes, well, it's just about a shark, isn't it? It's as simple as that. Robert Shaw always kept it simple and straight to the point. But then when they get round to actually filming that scene, when Robert Shaw delivers that speech, I, honest to God, my hairs on my arms stood up. I was like that watching, because we were right down the front. No, it wasn't on my head.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
But when I say the way Robert Shaw delivered it in the movie, how his tone, his look, the expressions on his face, how he delivered those lines, his son did that like for like. It was like watching Robert Shaw there. It was that good. It really was. And it just, like I said, I was like, wow. And Georgie she loved it as well.
So I take it you go and see it again then?
I would see it again. And if anybody likes the film Jaws, I highly recommend. So you don't see the shark. All you see is a fin going around in the background at the beginning, and that's it. And it's sort of like a sort of thing. It's I would cut, the shark's broken, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on from there. But it is a very highly recommended watch. I would go and watch that again. Yeah. And so would Georgie, for sure. It's just incredible. The acting was superb. Like I say, Ian Shaw is just a dead ringer for his dad. The look in his eyes when he squints his eyes and he pulls that face, and he's like, oh, yeah. All that kind of stuff is just insanely good. Wow.
You've sold me.
If you get to see it, go and see it. I do recommend it.
I would love to. I'd love to. It's like anything, you know. But it's like when the nippers are young and
Yeah. The thing is, there's no break in it. There's no intermission. It just goes all the way through from start to finish, and it doesn't feel like you've been in there nearly 2 hours. It really doesn't. It's just incredibly entertaining because it's a good listen as well. You've got to listen to the stories that they're telling and the things that they're talking about and all that sort of stuff. And it's just those three on the boat in between scenes waiting for the shark to get fixed and stuff like that.
The sign of how high quality acting is when the set pieces are quite limited and basic, but people carry you just by the dialogue.
You know, I don't know whether they believed the film was going to. I don't think. Well, they didn't believe the film was going to be any good, but
no, I don't think they did.
But they were so professional. Their performances just were incredible. You know, the three of them, and like I say, the chemistry between the three was superb. And I don't want to come across as repeating myself, but I think that's very important to have that chemistry, to have the actors, even though they might not believe the film is going to be any good, to be that believable as characters that they make you believe it. Do you know what I mean? That's the mark of a good actor, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I bring this picture up here just to show.
Yeah.
Just to show what, you know, what you're talking about. I appreciate they're the actors from the film, but no, when you told me at the NEC, because I'd heard about this play, but like with so many things, it's just life, isn't it? That stuff doesn't always marry up and mesh just right. But yeah, I know that you've told me before that you've never gone into this level of detail with it, but you've told me before it was excellent, and you know, I take it you're a reasonably good judge.
Even the guy who played,
I know you're a good judge of things.
Even when they're sitting there doing that scene, because they say, right, they bring the cameras down, the lights go down, they set the scene and stuff like that. And the way they're sitting, you know, the guy who plays Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss, the way he was sat just lounged in the chair, it was like a spitting image of watching a still of the movie, you know, just like watching the movie. They got everything down to a fine T. It was incredible. His laugh was like Richard Dreyfuss. He's just like, wow, that's just insane. How the work they must have put in to get in that. Because I think, you know, like we've said before in it earlier on in the stream, that scene was so pivotal and so encapsulating. They had, and that was the same for the play as well. That scene was the pivotal point of the play, talking about that Indianapolis, and it was just as important in the play as it was in the movie.
I have a question for you then, which is an on-the-spot question. Someone just thought up. It's not on my notes. I've got another question for that.
Yeah.
Is this experience best suited to the intimate setting of a play, or would you like to see them perhaps put this into a movie? Do you think it could work as a movie?
No. I don't think it should be a movie. This because when you're watching it, when you're watching the play, you are watching it live. You are seeing everything raw. You're seeing the expressions with your own eyes, so to speak. You're not seeing it through a screen. You're sat right there. Because, I mean, the theatre we went to wasn't the biggest in the world. It was a nice stage, but we were really close to the front. And I think everywhere you sat, you could have a good view. So I think to see it and appreciate it is definitely best going to see it live. And for me, I think live theatre, for me personally, I find a lot better than the movie. Because if you make a mistake in live theatre, everybody gets to see it. You can't cut it out.
Kind of like... You can't compare what we do to live theatre, but it's like when we live stream, when you make a mistake, when you make a gaffe, that's it. It's there. It's done.
It is, and that's so. You know, for them to learn their lines, to know their lines, to know their cues and their movements and stuff like that. Honest to God, like I say, if you get a chance to see it, go and see it. Absolutely incredible.
I absolutely do want to see it, and I want to bring up Keith Knight's comment here. He says that scene is iconic, and bearing in mind it's only 30 years after the Indy sank, that there would have been survivors and families that watched that fantastic scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible scene. Amos What's JT saying now? I love it when Quint and Hooper are comparing scars and explaining how they got each one.
Yeah,
Brody looks
yeah.
down at his appendix scar and says nothing. No.
Yeah.
We briefly touched on it earlier, but no, I didn't mention the appendix scar thing. Yeah, no, now you mention it. Yeah,
but that scene as well, they're all laughing and joking, they're singing and stuff like that, and then, you know, they've all been drinking, and then it just turns serious because, you know, because Quint says his story, and then he starts singing, and they all start singing again, so it all starts getting jolly, and then it goes serious again because the shark starts banging into the side of the boat. So just the way that scene chops and changes from like light-hearted fun to serious to then light-hearted fun to serious again, all in the space of what, 15 odd minutes, 20 minutes screen time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you. This is the scripted question. So we sort of touched on this earlier, but let's have it out proper here. And I think I know the answer, but if the shark had have worked perfectly, do you think that there's any way Jaws would have become as iconic as it is today?
No, I don't think it would have done. I really don't, because I think as much as they probably couldn't see it at the time, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because not seeing the shark just adds so much suspense and imagination. And the best thing about imagination is because it's running wild. You're thinking, oh, what is this? How big is this thing? You know, we've not seen it. And then you see it at the end and you think, oh, God, do you know what I mean? So if you see that early doors, where's the build up? What's it building up to? You don't get that build up. So it's the suspense, the not seeing it, the not knowing all the way through the film. You see glimpses of it in the water. You don't know how big it is until you see it at the end. That's the reveal. That's the climactic bit that they've been building all the way through the film up to that point. So no, I think if the shark had have worked properly as it was meant to do, I don't think it would have been as good a film as what it eventually turned out to be.
I completely agree. I mean, in this film did things that you wouldn't do today, but it's even things like the shark they capture, you know, when they're going on about the bite radius and all that.
Yeah.
That was a real shark. They paid someone like $10,000 to have someone capture a shark. And apparently it absolutely stunk. It really did actually stink. And it was making people feel a bit like, you know, I just say, good night, MSC. Thank you for joining us. Little details like that, which you wouldn't get away with today. I mean, with props and that now, I mean, they probably could have then, but even that scene, you can see it's a real shark, can't you? Even the bending of the flesh and everything, and it gives it that sort of granular, that real gritty feel.
Yeah.
And that's the whole theme of Jaws for me. Everything about it feels very real to me. Even, and I know some people criticize the Jaws shark puppet. We hardly see it. I think it looks pretty good myself.
Yeah.
Given the time frame, but there is a story I want to bring up. And I love this story. And I think you're gonna know as soon as I bring this slide up. So get ready for it.
Go on.
So, Lee Ferrero.
Oh yeah.
The Lee Ferrero Alex Kittner sandwich incident. So that refers to a real life event where Lee Ferrero, the actress, the lady in this slide, who plays Mrs. Kintner in Jaws, visited a restaurant in Martha's Vineyard and noticed on the menu an item called the Alex Kittner sandwich, which I think is just brilliant advertising, right? So she told the staff that she played the mother. She played Alex's mother. And then she found out that the manager of the restaurant was someone called Jeffrey Voorhees, the actor who played Alex Kittner. And apparently they had this really nice reunion. And I just think, I know that's, I just had to share that. I mean, I've been seeing cool, that doing the rounds for years, but I think that's such a cool story.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing about her was the slap when she slaps Brody. Cool. I don't think it's less of a slap and more of a bloody palm thud. Do you know what I mean? It's what it sounds like.
Catch him. Yeah.
But apparently they had to film that multiple times, and it was really sort of starting to hurt and wind.
I can imagine. Yeah. But an interesting thing about Alex Kittner's death, they wanted to make that more graphic.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I don't know what the actual full story was. I know they wanted to make it more graphic, where you see the kid in the shark's mouth, or no, he's on the lilo, and then the shark comes up, and you see the shark grab him and drag him.
I think seeing the blood, the kid splash, and that deflated lilo wash up on the beach, is far more powerful than seeing a horrible, horrific, tear them apart scene.
I mean,
I mean, when you think another cool fact about this film, towards the end of the film when Hooper goes down in the cage, and that, So that scene where you're seeing the empty cage get ripped apart by a shark, that's real. That was real footage. And you consider that was a shark tangled up in the lines, beating the shit out of that cage. And that influenced, that changed, because they were, like in the book, Hooper died, but in the film, he doesn't die. He survives. Spoiler, it's been out for 50 years. Don't shout at me. And that changed it, because little things like that. And that scene where I said to Carla last night, I said, that is a real shark attack. She didn't know that. She's like, what, really? I was like, yeah, that's a real shark. Look at how great that looks. Look at how fantastic that actually looks, and the depth it added to the scene. I mean, just fantastic. I mean, let me have a look. Right, let's get on. Is there anything in particular you want to cover before I go in and we have a brief discussion about the sequels and how we?
No, I think we pretty much. Yeah, I'm happy with how it's been rolling. So yeah.
No, that's cool, man. There is one thing I do want to do, actually, and Alan Dawson, who's been in the chat all this evening, he's a real good friend of mine, and I said earlier on that I don't tend to Google things now. I message Alan. Why use Google when you've got an Alan? Because it's such a knowledgeable guy, and we've obviously got the iconic scene at the end of the film. Smile, you son of, and Alan, bless him, I said, well, do you want to do me just a little bit of information on the gun that was used? Because I know Alan knows his guns and stuff and whatnot. And he obliged me, and today he sent this over. So if you'll allow me to indulge you, Stu, an audience, Alan sent out, so Alan has done a little, it's just over a minute long, a little video about the gun that was used that dispatched Jaws. So here we go, guys.
So Nick's asked me to give you a very quick rundown on the major, most featured gun in Jaws, which was the M1 Garand, which is this. Sorry, I don't have a real one to show you. I'd probably get locked up if I did. But this was the US Forces main rifle during World War II, which fits in with Quint's backstory of being in the Navy during World War II. It fires from a special clip that is pressed into the top of the rifle, and then it's single shot semi-automatic, so one trigger press, one shot. When the 8 shots are expended, the clip flies out, which doesn't happen in the film because I don't think he ever fires that many shots. It's a very powerful round, so it would be useful against something like a shark, although whether it would be actually any good against something as big as a 25-foot great white is another question. It's also used by Brody when he shoots the air tank at the end of the film, and you also see it being held by at least one of the Coast Guards in the early scenes when when they're chasing the shark.
Well, so there you go. Yeah. That was Alan Dawson, my good friend Alan Dawson. Thank you for doing that, Alan. I just thought I'd add a little bit of information to that, because I'm all about sharing a bit of information, and thank you for doing that, Alan. The guy is knowledgeable beyond knowledgeable. I tell you what, if you're into vintage action, man, there's not many people I've seen stood with Bob Breakin, and Bob Breakin will turn, and this is a true story, and this has happened a couple of times. I've been there. I've had the pleasure of meeting Bob many a time. And when he does the tour of the Palatoy factory and he talks Action Man, now, for those listening, you think, why are you talking about toys in a film thing, right? Well, bear with me here. I have literally witnessed the man, the myth, the legend, Bob Breakin turn to Alan Dawson and say, "Is that right, Alan?" Like, like to fact check the stories he's telling.
Wow.
Because Alan is extremely, extremely knowledgeable. Good guy. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah. Gerard O'Connor says, everyone needs an Alan in their lives. Yes, they do.
Alan.
Yes. Oh, don't, because that happened one night when we went out on the piss and me and Collector Pete kept shouting, "Alan, Alan." I think he wanted to kill us by the end of it. Anyway, back into the main subject. Thank you for your submission there, Alan. I massively appreciate that you took the time out of your day to do that for me. Let's have a quick discussion about the sequels, right?
Okay. Yep.
Right. So, Jaws 2, 1978. You already said that. Oh God, who played Brody again? Stu, my brain's gone dead.
Whatever. I'm going to say Schneider because I've always called him Schneider. Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider did not want to come back to this, but he was tied into a contract with Universal, couldn't get out of it. However, the brief description I've got of Jaws 2, and I have seen it, but it was years ago, so forgive me. Brody fights a new great white shark stalking the victims off Amity. The shark is a female, the mate of Bruce. Have you seen it, Stu?
I've seen the second one, yeah.
From what I recall, I didn't mind the second one. It's nowhere near. It's not a patch on the first one.
No, nothing ever will be. No, it won't. It won't be. But it was decent. You had familiar faces. Ellen Brody was back in it again. The two, Michael and Sean, had grown up, so they're obviously different actors. I think the mayor was in it. You said again, wasn't he? Briefly. Yeah. I mean, again, it was sort of like terrifying in its own right, not to the extent of the first movie Jaws, but I don't like the fact that they turned around and said it was the mate of the first shark. I mean, really?
Well, it gets more silly as we go down the line.
Yes, I can imagine it does. I know it does. But yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, come on now. I mean,
no, let's not. Let's not, that's the daftest thing in it. So Jaws 3 or Jaws 3D. It was 3D. The old blue and red glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. See what from what I recall, and the brief thing I read on it, the shark is trapped in SeaWorld and is picking people off. I mean, that's
so the baby shark, great white, is trapped in SeaWorld.
Right. So, okay, you'll have to. I mean, it has
basically a baby shark gets in because they've left the vents open, and the baby shark gets into SeaWorld. They capture the baby shark, and it's the first great white shark in captivity. So, and then it dies. And then guess what? Mummy comes back. Or Mummy doesn't come back. Mummy comes in and tries to, and it just causes havoc and stuff like that. So, and this is a big ass great white shark, and it, as you know, it's in 3D, and it was Dennis Quaid was in it. He was in it, and I can't remember his name.
I don't know. I didn't write down any of the cast mates.
Yeah. No, don't worry about that. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't the greatest movie. The special effects at that time, even then, were shocking. Even more so now when that shark's just like floating, not moving at all, but just floating, moving forward to that big glass scene at the end. It hits the glass, everything stops, the glass cracks in the shot. It just ridiculous.
Yeah, didn't they sort of in the film Deep Blue Sea, when the shark's hitting the glass in that film, that's sort of a take on that, isn't it? Where it's headbutting the glass to break the glass. Yeah.
It wasn't a very good movie, and it should never have been made, to be honest with you.
Well, it's all right, because I'm not gonna labor it anymore, because this is only a very, very brief overview.
And no, they shouldn't have done Jaws of Revenge, because that was when the shark was roaring like a freaking lion. Unbelievable. It just stupid.
As Martin corrected me earlier, Shida was not in Jaws Revenge other than for a recall scene. And what's it Keith Knight put here? Shida, basically German for Taylor. There we go. There we go. I did not know that, but happy days. We now know. Jaws Revenge. Ellen Brody believes a shark is targeting her family in the Bahamas. The shark is actually seeking revenge. And we know Brody, from what we were told earlier in the chat, and you'll probably remember this, has had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Apparently Michael Caine's in this movie.
Yes, he is. Yep. Is it Foggy? Something like that? Or something like that?
I literally didn't write anything down on it, mate. Sorry.
It's a bloody great white shark. Yeah, that's a crap Michael Caine impression, by the way.
We're only supposed to blow the bloody head off.
Fins off. Yeah.
That was worse than yours, to be fair.
Sean, the younger brother, dies in it.
I don't recall. I am.
So
you know what?
He's like a
I'm going to watch him again.
Well, don't seriously don't. You're going to wish you hadn't. So Sean is the younger brother. He dies in it, and then you've got Michael, who's the older brother. He survives, and so does Mummy Brody and Michael Caine. It's just a ridiculous film. I mean, why is a shark singling out a family? It's stupid storyline.
It's Hollywood cash grab. I mean, I take it. I take it the Sons have done an EastEnders thing, and for our American cousins listening, we've got a long running soap opera over here, and every time an actor disappears and recast, they're recast 5 or 10 years older. So, like, you've got kids who were born like 10 years ago are now 25 with businesses in this show. Do you know what I mean? They must have done that with the kids in this, because looking at the years these were released and how young the boys were in Jaws, there's no way they'd be old enough to sort of be.
I don't know whether it was set over a certain amount of time, but it was released.
Because I know that one of the Sons is, I know he's grown up. From what I read, he's grown up. And like I said, I have seen it years ago, but a lot's happened. They probably have done that Hollywood trope.
It's not good. I mean, the sad thing is, you've got an absolute timeless classic with Jaws, the original Jaws. You get a semi-decent sequel, and it's very rare to get decent sequels in movies. But to then go on and do the Jaws 3 and 4, what were they thinking? It was never, ever. And especially with the storyline. Yeah, but did they make much money? Probably not.
I really didn't. I really didn't write down any figures for it. Like I said, it's just a brief overview. But
they're shite. They're shite.
They must have made something. They must have made something.
Anyway, it's a shame. But,
this is my question. We already know the answer. Do you feel the sequels were just simple cash grabs? Of course they were.
Well, yes. Yeah. I think you could get away with the second one, but I think anything after that, no.
Oh, okay. JT's got a cool fact here. The reason the shark roars was a callback to the original Jaws. There's a roar as the shark sinks, and it's the same sound effect. Okay. And there we go. There we go. I did not know that, but that's a cool fact. We love cool facts. And hello to DTM who's arrived. Good to see you, man. Thanks for popping in. I think this is going to be the question, which I know what you're going to say, and I hope you're going to answer it how I think you're going to answer it.
Okay.
How would you feel about you wake up tomorrow? I'm going to I've got the question in basic. Let's say you wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
You stick your dentures in, toddle downstairs, right? And you flick on the news and you hear Jaws remake.
No.
Okay, so we've hit the simple no. It does not need a remake.
No.
Give me your reasons why, though. And I think we've already pretty much covered it. I feel I know why. Because
this day and age, they would totally screw it up. You wouldn't have the same feel. You wouldn't have the same sort of like over. Well, you just wouldn't have that same feel as the original. You wouldn't, because it wouldn't be John Williams doing the music. You wouldn't have Dreyfus, Roy Taylor, or Robert Shaw doing it. And I'll say Roy Taylor because apparently Shiner's, is it Shiner?
Scheider is
German for Taylor. But no, just they look. Hollywood need to learn a lesson. Stop going back to old films and remaking them, because you're just doing a shite job. Leave it alone. You don't need a remake of Jaws. You don't need a remake of Close Encounters. You don't need a remake of E.T. These are classic gems. Leave them as they are. That's all I can say.
Quick
So
hello
no
there, Si's joined
remake
us.
of Jaws. But then they've kind of done that with Meg, haven't they? The Meg. It's
Yeah,
kind of like a
yeah.
modern day version. So keep it at that. Don't have the same
Okay.
storyline.
Let me rework this in a new. Let me twist this around in a new ball and a new thing. They're not going. Let's say you wake up tomorrow and they're not doing a remake of Jaws, but they're doing a direct sequel to Jaws.
No. Stop. No sequels. No remakes. No.
What if
I
they
don't
get
ever want to hear you say that again.
What if they get
No.
Ryan Johnson in?
No, because no remakes, no direct sequels to the movie. You don't need it.
Because the reason I say I don't want a remake, I don't want a sequel, I leave it where it is.
Yes.
But the reason I say it is because you've got like the Halloween, you've got Halloween, right? And then Halloween 2, and then they did Halloween H. So they did all the Halloween films, and then they did another Halloween film with Jamie Lee Curtis years later, which completely retcons all the other Halloween films, and it's a direct continuation. So what I'm saying, so that was my thought. Someone comes along and goes,
no. I know this is silly, but to me, there's only 1.5 Jaws movies, and that's the first one and half the second one.
Okay.
The other two do not exist.
See, Sire's saying what Stu said, and I agree. Look, I am agreeing with Stu, guys. I've got to play devil's advocate. I'm the bloody host. I've got to do that. Vic is saying, agree. No sequels, no remakes, no prequels. Now,
Thank you.
Vic, you kind of just took the storm, the wind out of the. So I was going to say, what if someone said about a prequel? No prequels.
Can you imagine?
Guessing.
No. It would be Where the Shark Was Born and and it would be a misunderstood shark. No.
Well, you've got Palps there saying Jaws, the animated shirt, worked for Godzilla. Now, but here's one for you then. So, Palps, thank you for inspiring this question.
Yeah.
With the age of Netflix and things and whatnot, bear in mind we've just had the Harry Potter films. We're about to have Harry Potter series, and we had the From Dusk Till Dawn film. We had From Dusk Till Dawn series, which I've never bothered to watch because I don't want to ruin From Dusk Till Dawn for myself. What if I don't know, Paramount, Netflix, any one of the big ones was going to do a series of Jaws, and they promised to keep it faithful and barely have the shark in it.
No,
they got all the best actors.
Why do you need a series of Jaws?
I'm doing my job here, mate. I've got to play devil's
I'm just asking you the question now. I'm throwing it back at you. Why do you need a series of Jaws? You don't need a series of Jaws
because those 2 hours and 4 minutes. Thank you, Kieran Bull, for giving us the exact time earlier. Those 2 hours and 4 minutes are perfect.
They are.
Fuck it. You don't. Sorry, I'm swearing on my own show. I don't care. It's that late. And fuck it. We do not need a sequel. We don't need a series. We don't need anything. But the thing is, at some point in time, Stu, someone's gonna do it. It will happen.
No, you can get away with doing it with films like Godzilla, King Kong, the DC multiverse, or the DC like Batman. You can get away with redoing those films, but only to a certain point. You cannot go. Look, listen. For me, films like Close Encounters, E.T., even the original Jaws are one-off films. You don't need anything else. You don't need any remakes of those films. You don't need any sequels, prequels, TV shows. You don't. Just leave them as they are, because this day and age, they will just fuck it up. Simple as that. I said it. I didn't want to say it, but you said it, F word, so I'm going to say the F word.
It's all right with that. Fire in YouTube, don't care anymore. So Keith puts a really valid point here. He says, a lack of decent writers with imagination is why they do remakes of classics.
Yep.
They're never as good. It's cheap filmmaking. And it is cheap. And that's the problem with Hollywood today. They don't have that. Do you know what? Not only is there a lack of imagination and a lack of decent writers, but there's a lack of bollocks to actually take a punt on something new. Oh, let's go with the tried and tested. They'll swallow this up. It's done well before. Well, how about you actually make something new?
I think a lot of directors and filmmakers and studios would struggle. They would struggle if they had the tools and the technology that people like Steven Spielberg, George Lucas had in the 60s and the 70s. They would struggle.
Oh, the thing is today that wouldn't have if the animatronic wasn't working, they'd just go, we'll just CGI it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like JT saying here. He says the problem with any shark story is that apart from attacking swimmers, there's not much else for the shark to do. Look at all the shark movies and why they're all compared to Jaws. I mean, even Deep Blue Sea, I believe it was a genetically modified, super brainy shark. You know.
Yeah. Well, they even did another film, didn't they, called Orca with Richard Harris, and that was supposed to be a whale version of Jaws.
But the thing is, you can't always capture lightning in a bottle again. You know.
Yeah.
Si says, to be fair, nobody could recapture the magic of Jaws. Not one sequel lived up to it. I don't think today's cinema would be any different. It wouldn't be.
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't be. Do you know how much I recoil whenever I hear there's a remake of a film that like so. At some point, I am going to do The Italian Job on Real Impact. That is one of my favourite classic films. I love that film. Did you ever watch the remake?
No.
I got about an hour in and went, yes, I'm turning it off. It's rubbish. It's like Get Carter. The original Get Carter, I had the privilege of knowing Mike Hodges, the guy who directed it, He's no longer with us. But that film is perfect. He dies on the beach at the end. It's spoiler alert.
Yeah, cheers.
That's all right. We're a bit after. But what did Hollywood do? Oh, let's cast Sylvester Stallone, this big hunky guy, as Carter. That's not what Carter was, and he survives. And it's like, this is where you get it wrong. This is where you get it wrong. You're too afraid to go. You see, the thing is, when you kill off a main character, obviously in Jaws, they still made sequels, but when you kill off a main character, you're basically saying this is the end. This is the end, There's always creative ways of bringing it back, but this is what Hollywood does not have the bottle to do anymore. And I just feel if they bring Jaws back in any capacity, be it TV series, be it film, the first thing that'll happen is the shark will be in it every 5 seconds, and it will be bad CGI. It will get wrapped up in too much of what's going on in the world today, and it will just lose the essence of what Jaws was, a very simple story about man versus predator. You see in Jaws, and this is the thing that I think is really crucial here, the shark never enters our world. We're entering the shark's world, right? And he's a predator and he's got to eat. It's not like he's coming onto our land, we're going into his domain. Yeah. And so it is man versus the sea, man versus the creature, and I think that's the magic of the film. And they will, we've broken the F seal now. They will just fuck it up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I agree with that. They will do. So no, and no. Just leave it. It doesn't need fixing. It doesn't need. It's perfect how it is, and I think a lot of people would come to that same conclusion.
And to be honest with you, I've only literally, I'm looking through comments here. Let's have a look. Hooper, Brody and Quint share a canal boat in a new sitcom from the makers of Friends. There you go, Kieran. Kieran, you've nailed it, because that's the sort of crap they would do.
Yeah.
Look, a bit different, but in the same sort of vein. We all grew up with Thundercats, but then they did that real jokey piss take cartoon of it, like Thundercats Raw, which was like, this is what they do. They take franchises and they sort of piss on them to a degree.
Yes, they do. They do. They need to stop it, but they won't.
DTM saying, but Sly's quite hunky. Yeah, no, absolutely. My missus absolutely loves a bit of Stallone, Delvian, somehow Jaws has returned. He's got the pipes about him. Keith saying the Italian Job remake's such huge asshole. that's the way to put it, for sure. JT, the Invasion of the Brody Snatchers remake with Donald Sutherland was better than the original. The Planet of the Apes had well too. Oh dear.
Sometimes it does work. But I just think when it comes to something like this, no, it's a timeless classic. It doesn't need tinkering.
Si's saying the remake of the Italian Job was an insult to British cinema. Well, yeah. And the thing is, whether it's American or British cinema, I think a remake of Jaws, to bring it back round, let's go full circle, a remake of Jaws would just be an insult to the original.
It would do, yeah, because yeah.
Now look, I've got a couple of friends who have said that they wouldn't mind a remake of Jaws, and look, everyone is entitled to their opinion. And look, there's no real right or wrong answers here, but I think for the most part, we're all pretty much on the same page here. We don't need a remake.
No,
leave it be. It's a classic. I mean, there are so many cool scenes in this film. We didn't even talk about our favorite scenes of the film, but everyone here's seen it, you know. And because you're a good guest, and you know, I haven't had to dive into all the other notes, because you've come very well prepared, and you've had some brilliant talking points. So on that, I will say to you, no, you've been excellent. I said to you, before we wrap this up, is there anything else you want to touch on? Anything you feel we didn't touch on? Anything
we didn't talk
over?
About the orca, and I just want to touch on that quickly because
go
I don't
for
want
it.
to be
Brilliant.
too long because I've got to be up early in the morning. But
again,
the orca is a prominent part of that film. For me, it's got its own personality and character. The original orca was shipped off somewhere, and it was supposed to be used. Where was it? I think it was at Universal Studios or something like that. And then someone didn't realize what it was, and I just think they ripped it all apart and binned it.
I believe they chainsawed it apart.
Yeah, gutting,
because it really pissed off Spielberg, I believe.
Yeah.
What a shame. And that's the thing. A lot of movie props and things don't get respected over the years because they're seen for what they are, a prop. Anything else at all you want to cover? Do you want to talk more on the orca, or are you pretty much there, mate?
No, I'm pretty much done. I've got to say, I have really thoroughly enjoyed this chat tonight. Thank you so much, man.
Stu, I have to say, you've been brilliant.
Thank you.
You've had a great anyone's welcome on this show, whether you come with a load of research or you just come with a passion and want to talk, it doesn't matter. You're all welcome. But thank you for coming along. Thank you for being so prepared to discuss this classic film, and thank you for helping me make the show, because every show I do is not really my show. It's the show for it's my guest show, because that's what it's about.
Thank you, man.
I've really enjoyed it. I am gonna quickly. I'm gonna come back to you in just a second, Stu. I'm gonna say thank you to everyone in the chat this evening. You've all been fantastic. Sorry I couldn't bring up all the comments, but you've been brilliant, and you've all made some brilliant points, and it really does help drive the show. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you for coming along and being loyal as ever. I appreciate it.
Has Gerard O'Connor just put $5, Stu? No, Gerard. No. You know what I'm talking about. No.
What's Gerard put?
He's put a comment. $5, Stu. No.
Yeah. Fly, Willy, fly. Gerard. Oh my goodness. Anyway. So, audience chat, you've been absolutely fantastic. Stu,
yes.
Everyone here knows where they can find you, but there may be people listening on the audio version when it goes out there who don't know. Where can people find you, and what do you do, and what have you got coming up, sir?
You can find me on YouTube, Universal Toy Collector. You can find me on Instagram, Universal Toy Collector, and you can find me on Facebook, Universal Toy Collector, or Stu, Universal Toy Collector. What have I got coming up? I've got a new YouTube series starting tomorrow called My Childhood Toy Memories. So I've got a great first guest, so that'll be up tomorrow. We pre-recorded that earlier today, so that'll be up tomorrow. Hopefully it will be a weekly series. We'll see how that goes. I've got a few lined up for the time being, so I will be reaching out to people to see if you want to be taking part. It's only going to be in for about half an hour to 45 minutes, so it's not going to be like an hour long series or show. What do? I do live streams. I do quizzes. I just unbox toys when I get around to unboxing them. I do a lot of overviews, so to speak, and room changes, because I constantly change my display around. So yeah,
and you've just got a really weird habit of fucking leaving parcels for 6 months and letting them build up, then opening them all at once.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I've started it again already. So
I knew you would.
Yeah. I've got a few come through this week already. But yeah, no, honestly, like we were saying earlier, it doesn't cost anything to sub. So, sub
Yeah,
to
guys, I tell you
APD's
what, guys, just before I end this, if I think you are all subscribed. If you're not, if you want to subscribe, that'd be brilliant, because YouTube just is it's a hard space at the moment to be in.
Yeah.
If you haven't put a like on the video, could you put a like on the video if you don't mind? Because it genuinely does help. Again, you've all been great. Stu, you've been fantastic. Real
Thank you.
Impact is going to be back again very shortly. I'll drop an announcement. Keep an eye on the channel, because I drop announcements for what shows are coming up and with who. And everyone, you've been great. Stu, you know what? It's the awkward wave time.
Oh, is it? Oh, great.
the
I've been
awkward wave time.
practicing. Yeah, I've been practicing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Say bye, Stu. Bye.
Bye, Stu.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.